Hi there. Um, so let me start by saying this isn't a podcast. I don't really know the word to describe what it is, but in all honesty, I just don't feel the need to listen to myself talk for like 45 to 60 minutes, nor do I really feel like there's value in you all watching or listening to me have a conversation with somebody else. Like, I think that's covered. Um, I imagine this to be much more short form because I don't think that I'm setting out to make content. Like, that's not really the moment that we're in. The reason why I don't want to sit here and have you guys watch me have a conversation with somebody else is because I feel like so much of the crisis of this moment is about us not having spaces for us to think about the realities of being in conversation with ourselves in real time, and what that looks like. We are in a moment where there is such a severe crisis of conscience, imagination, and backbone that it has driven me, somebody who doesn't necessarily love visibility, to feel like I need to practice what I preach in terms of putting myself out there and reaching to the depths of my creativity to figure out how my perspective can help us in this moment. I'll explain. I'm somebody who, especially if you know me, you know that I pretty much checked all the boxes academically, professionally, like your girl knocked it out, right? And I think even amidst that, I did all of that just to end up going rogue and kind of like bucking the entire system and then creating a career that was very not only entrepreneurial, but it spanned across industries and types of work that a lot of people I don't think really would have gone together. Um, I have been an educator, I have been a lawyer, I have been in tech, the nonprofit space, and electoral politics. And in all of those different avenues, in my desire to help and support socially driven, mission driven organizations, it got to the point where I feel like we do a lot of talking about change, but not a lot of living it. And so, whether it's kind of us as individuals navigating what it means to kind of like step into this latest version of who we are, there's a gap. And part of me feels like so much of the reason why we're watching a lot of these systems and, you know, states and institutions implode is because we've never tried to solve for this. I am sick of hollow being drowning in the hollowness and marketing of the online space. I think it's a lot of, stats and showmanship, hence why this is very, you know, baseline. um, but we haven't really left a lot of space for like our souls. The reality is our spirits don't fit into these systems. And I don't know a space where we can talk about what it means to work through and step into the totality of our whole selves while we feel like we are selling ourselves wholesale to the highest and flashiest bidder, essentially. It's almost as if we keep talking about the need to renovate a house, and yet all we keep doing is moving the furniture and rearranging the furniture like on this loop. And we're exhausted. There's so much attention being given to the ways in which we need to keep up with the world. And I don't know if I see the same amount of reflection on the fact that the world hasn't really kept up with us and who we are and how we've changed and how we're navigating that. And so I don't know, at this point, it can be imperfect, but we have to start. We live in a context that is so fucking obsessed with this binary black and white, this or that, about it or not about it, whatever. And I feel like it's confusing to me because in the story of my life, which we can eventually get into, but in my experience, like most of my shit is a shade of gray. And it's been about I think my success in a lot of ways has been about me being able to look at that and sit in the reality of my own contradiction and use that as my compass. I guess that's what it is. My contradiction has been my compass. And I'm just wondering if there's a way for us to think about how that muscle can now help us become the people who survive this. This is called society, but not because I honestly want to talk about politics. I don't. Because honestly, you can get that elsewhere. Will it bleed in every now and then? Sure, maybe, but very broadly. Because honestly, I don't have a desire to narrate the autopsy of this. I want to think about who we need to become in order to survive this and how those people need to move both in relationship to themselves and to each other to build systems that better honor our humanity. Even just the simple idea of politics is honestly entirely too small. The situation that we're actually in right now is one where we actually need to redraw the contours of what our civic imagination is, starting with our civic identity. And really, so much of it just starts with how it is that you are in relationship to yourself and who you know yourself to be and what it is that you practice in the world and immediate communities that you're building. Because quite frankly, like, we're very preoccupied right now with what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I get that. And we do need to do a lot. Don't get me wrong. But if we don't also focus on who it is that we're becoming, I'm just not convinced that we wouldn't get out here, even if we were to do everything exactly right and we were to come together and all do the same exact one thing, which I don't even know if that's a strategy, but sometimes it is. At this point, based on how we're showing up right now in this moment, I'm actually not convinced that we wouldn't just recreate the exact world that we're watching fall apart right now. On the one hand, it's like I think that we're so lucky because we have social media and we have the vocabulary of that space, right? We can talk about, we're a different generation and the generations behind us, but like, we are so lucky that we are of a generation that has the cultural vocabulary to think about self-worth and self-stewardship, boundaries, self-care, trauma, inner child, whatever you want to use, all that exists, and it has enhanced the plurality that we're able to think about ourselves. But the problem is there isn't anything that builds a bridge from that work to like what it is that we're doing on the broader collective level. And that being on fire while we're just only focusing on, let me put up this boundary. That's not important, but it's incomplete. Because I'm trying to figure out, while we have the vocabulary, how is it that we take that vocabulary and create a language that allows us to feel like we live in a natural conversation around how who it is that we are shapes what it is that we experience and the environments that we inhabit. Period. And I'm not saying that this isn't hard or complicated, but I do think that this can feel far less heavy. And so I'm going to do my part to try to start walking the path.